Okay. Hi, it's Lynn here with 2 more tips to help you and your team members get the very best out of those coaching conversations. And today we're on tips 5 and 6. Tip number 5, I say, what's really going on? Human beings are not always rational, and so what we often think of as logical solutions to problems or obvious solutions don't always lead to the change or improvements we expect. They're a bit like putting a sticking plaster on a gaping wound. Let me give you a typical example. How many of us have too much to do, and how many of your team members are saying to you, I'm just overwhelmed, I can't do it all? I'm guessing a lot of them. Now, we know some of the obvious solutions are to stop being copied in on everything, to turn off notifications, to use time blocking, to have thinking time, to stop going to pointless meetings, and so on. They're often great solutions, but they're rarely the whole answer. And they're not the whole answer because they don't address the underlying or fundamental issues. In other words, they don't always address the causes of too much to do. The true causes are often linked to what Timothy Galway, one-time tennis player and then tennis coach, describes as our inner game issues. These are things like our fear of failure, our desire to be liked, our control freakery or perfectionism, our people pleasing, or that tendency to be really busy doing the busy work because it means we don't have to focus on the bigger, out of the comfort zone type projects. So here's an example. Maybe one of your team members comes to you and says, I'm at full capacity, I need more people in my team. Now, that team member may genuinely need more people. But just maybe there's something she's not doing, like tackling the poor performance in a team and taking on their work rather than risk a confrontation. Or she's a people pleaser, so she's saying yes to every piece of work, whether it's important or not. And guess what? More resources won't necessarily solve those underlying inner game issues. Her existing team members will still be poor performers. She still won't know how to address poor performance in the future. So your role is to dig down and help her see the root cause of the problem and help her to have those conversations and to recognise those inner games. I can give you lots of examples like that. So dig a bit deeper, unpeel the layers of the onion and keep unpeeling them to get to the core of what's really going on. And remember, you don't have to do that all in one go. My tip number 6 is all about language, and it's called Words Create Worlds. Our assumptions can really get in the way when we're coaching and create all sorts of misunderstandings and confusion. Let's look at a simple example. There are 2 words in coaching that are used a lot. One is support and the other is challenge. Now, most of my executive coaching clients want me to challenge them, and it would be easy for me to say, yeah, okay, without really asking what that word means to them. So what does it sound like, look like, or feel like when I'm challenging you? So it's much more helpful for us to explore that word together. If a team member asks for more support, rather than saying okay, find out what that really means to him and whether you can commit to providing it. What would level 10 support look like, for example, or a level 5? Similarly, challenge those vague commitments. If your team member says something like, yeah, I'll think about it, then ask her specifically what she's going to think about first. Or if she says, yeah, I'll go and have that conversation, ask her what she wants to achieve when she has that conversation. This vague ambiguity around language I find a lot when we're objective setting as well. So asking someone to show more leadership or to be a better team player or to keep you informed a little bit more, what does that actually mean? And yet in numerous performance reviews, appraisals, emails and conversations, we find this ambiguity of language. No wonder so many of us say that communication is so poor in our organisations. But here's something that's really, really important for you when you're coaching, and that is to listen to the language your team member uses and play it back to them rather than trying to interpret or analyse or guess what they mean. So if someone says something like, I felt really deflated when I didn't get my second interview, rather than say, I bet you're really angry, which is an assumption, ask them to explain what deflated means. Or if they say something like, I feel like I'm spinning hundreds of plates and they're all going to come crashing down at any minute, ask them, what are the plates that you're spinning? What's on them? Which plate do you think might come crashing down first? The more you use the language, the more you explore the language and let the coachee or team member understand what that language means to them, the more you're going to get greater insights, greater awareness, and therefore better action. And even better, you're not having to do all the work. So those are my 2 tips for you today.